in our Dr. Amison video, he had already retired, so we asked when he retired. Here I have when are you retiring, but
Right.
we don't necessarily have to talk about that, but I wanted to ask how you felt about that.
That's a really good question because it's not been easy at all. This has not been like, oh yay, I'm retiring. It's been it it was a very tough decision for me because I love what I do. But we all just know we have to do it sometime. And I'm going to be 70. And, I am 70. Oh, listen to me, I'm going to be. And COVID sort of showed me that it was time to let the younger ones.
Well, I think we'll talk about that, and we may or may not use it.
So this can be edited if I ramble, y'all can.
10 minutes in the frame.
I'm going to touch your hair because I see some flyaways.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
mind.
No, I appreciate it.
Did I get that?
It's a flyaway kind of day
See,
today.
we have a backlight here that's very bright, and it kind of.
It's
Does that look better?
making me look frizzy.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, I'll get the other side too on here.
Thank you.
All right.
Alright, so
Alrighty.
we are rolling and we're ready whenever you are, Denise.
I'm gonna throw in a new question. So,
dear.
if you can say and spell your name out for us, so we have all that correct.
Sure. I'm Dr. Jamie Odrezin, and it's spelled JamieOdrezin.
Okay. What was your doctorate in, or if you can just tell us your background on your medical?
My medical, I went to the Medical College of Georgia in Georgia. I grew up in Atlanta, so I went to Georgia Medical School, and I did my pediatric residency in North Carolina. Then I did a fellowship in ambulatory medicine in St. Louis and a fellowship in adolescent medicine in Cincinnati at both those children's hospitals.
So, what inspired you to become a pediatrician?
That's a good question. I went to med school, interestingly, determined I wasn't going to be a pediatrician because that's what women did. And there were 10 women in my class of 110 medical students, so we were very much at that time a minority. But as I went through my clinicals, being with people was what I loved. And so it was between pediatrics and internal medicine. And the final decision came that pediatricians are nice people, and that's who I wanted to work with the rest of my life.
Okay.
And it was very much the right decision.
So tell me, if you will, kind of chrono how you got to Birmingham, and specifically
Okay.
to Brookhaven.
Oh, to Brookhaven. Okay. Well, I came to Birmingham when my husband took a job at Children's as a pediatric radiologist. He was the third pediatric radiologist at Children's Hospital. So I came at the same time that one day David Glasgow, who was one of our founding partners at Greenville, was rounding at Children's, and one of the radiologists says, we have a new radiologist coming to town, and his wife's a pediatrician. So they decided to interview me, and I took the job at Greenville. And that was in 1983. And I have loved being part of this group ever since. Children's bought our practice in 2009, 26 years ago. So, and at that time wanted to expand. We had 2 offices at Greenville, one in Hoover and one in Alabaster, and we decided this area of town was an area to expand. And so David Glasgow and I designed and helped build this building and moved here in 1999. So,
Let's pause for just a minute. Can you
Those-
hear the audio back there?
Yeah, we're gonna let them know. Just let them know real quick that we're filming. So.
and I may have gotten my dates all wrong too there.
We have this. Well, he's checking on that. Did you say you helped found this building?
This building, not David Glasgow and I helped design, and
the building.
we were in Hoover at the time this building was being built, and so we designed it the way we thought it would serve our children in this community the best.
Oh, you're good.
So just
All right.
tell me when you're ready.
We're ready.
I think we need to repeat that because I heard a lot of noise out there.
Okay.
So where we were was you were talking that you said that there were 110 students and there were 10 women, and it seemed like the natural thing to go into pediatrics, but then you liked it. Like
Right. I thought I was going to be a surgeon until I took surgery rotations. And really, what it does boil down to is that the people that you work with the rest of your life are very important. And I love the clinical side of medicine. So I knew, I mean, I've always liked children, but I've always liked adults too. So it was a hard decision between the two. And I finally decided, you know what? Pediatricians are the nicest group of people. And to work with pediatricians the rest of my life and take care of children is by far the best way to have a career.
Do you recall a fond memory or something special that's happened in your career that you particularly remember?
You know, that's a very hard question also, because there are so many memories. There are so many moments in time and positive things that happened to me in my career that I don't know that I can say one in particular. What I've loved about it and the memory that I love is that helping new moms, helping young moms, empower them to know that they are the best moms they can be. So I never had strict rules. We talked, and to know that moms appreciated that and came back and said, oh, that was so helpful. And to know that when they left, they felt better than when they came in if they were stressed. But probably, and that was across the board. Moms was one example. Taking care of type 1 diabetes was an incredible part of my career, and so my memory is very vivid with those patients, and empowering them and being there for them is something that I'll treasure forever. And I could tell you moments in time, and we could spend all day, but those type of memories, those relationships and those interactions with my patients are really my true treasure.
Oh, that's so sweet. Is there anything you might have done differently looking back in your career, or you might have changed, or?
No, I don't think so. There was one moment in my career that I really wanted to focus exclusively on type 1 diabetes, and wanted to kind of become sort of a private doctor with children's just doing diabetes, that I thought would be a very positive thing for the hospital. And it didn't work out, but in retrospect, and I've learned this over the last couple of months, the impact that I made in those patients who were not diabetics was just as great. And so I'm grateful that I actually continue to be a pediatrician as well as taking care of those kids with type 1. So I can't say that I have any regrets at all.
Well, it sounds like you have many rewards from your career, personal, in terms of caring for people. And have you always been like that, or did that evolve as you got into your career?
Well, no, it's obviously evolved. And those are kind of the things that make you understand why you're retiring, because you evolve as a person, as a doctor, as an individual, and that impact that you make changes as you become more experienced, as you see and understand human reactions and connections. It just definitely makes you more, makes you a better pediatrician, I think.
What advice would you have for upcoming pediatricians or people going to this field?
Right. My advice to anybody in pediatrics would be to keep an open mind and an open heart as to what the needs of the families we serve are, because they vary with every single patient. And if we just follow rules, or we just follow what you're supposed to always do without listening, we miss an opportunity to impact that family. So my recommendation would be always to listen to your families, always to to understand why they're there and what they're coming to you for and what you can add in their journey to become better families and better kids.
I'm hearing some noise. Are we good? There, Lance?
Yeah, I think we're okay. I mean, that mic's pretty directional. It's,
I just noticed it picked
I
up a
mean,
little
yeah,
bit.
you already told them once.
Yeah.
I think they're probably in their groove, but we
You-
can.
Go get my office manager and she'll come down here and make them shut up.
Okay.
That's Adrian.
Adrian, right,
She had on the black.
The one that we talked to.
right.
Tell her Dr. Odrezin said.
Okay, we are rolling.
Okay, fascinating question and very, very accurate point. And, you know, healthcare has evolved as children have evolved. Our society has evolved, you know, and I think COVID was the most poignant indication of that. But when I started in pediatrics, we focused a lot on infectious diseases. You know, I saw kids with pneumonias and meningitis and, you know, terrible ear infections, and that was the majority of the sick visits that we had. And over the last 40 years, immunizations, antibiotics have totally changed what we as pediatricians see in our office every day. Unfortunately, also, the nature of our society or of our families have changed so that we're busy, and our children's brains, I think, have developed in different ways that now bring to us as pediatricians many more behavioral problems, emotional problems, anxieties, things that we didn't see 39 years ago. And we definitely see now in children. You know, I think COVID exacerbated that incredibly. And we have to, as pediatricians, address those needs. If a child comes in with a chronic stomach ache and we don't find out what's going on in their life, and we just take care of the stomach ache, we've missed the whole point. So it is, it's very, very important to not only see that in families and ask those questions and know, and that was back to my other point, that listening as a pediatrician is what is going to bring us the most good to our families, and paying attention to where they are and knowing the kinds of things that may be stressing them. And I think the stress is what is increased. And so as pediatricians, we have to be able to support that and help that in any way we can.
Would you take your finger on the other side and just, I think there's a hair right other side.
Other
Not-
side?
Yeah, that side. There's a,
Oh, it's a flyaway kind of hair.
I just saw it off the reflection. I don't mean to distract you, but my next question was gonna be, when he's ready, but when you're thinking about this, but is it harder now to treat kids than it used to be? Because the reason I'm asking that is,
This is some
it's just a personal example. Yesterday I was
No,
getting
back it
gas,
up.
and I live out here,
There you go.
just down to 119.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, oh, what a beautiful sunny day. It just feels safe. It feels good out here. And I'm getting gas. And I'm just noticing the surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
Within, like, no kidding, within probably 2 minutes, this car zips around. This young girl gets out, scantily dressed, looked like her underwear, really. And covers herself up and jumps out. And her teeth are kind of black. And she's obviously probably a teenager, 19 or so.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have $5? I just got here from Florida and I forgot my wallet. I don't have any money, and I need some gas. So
What did you do? I'm just curious. What did you do?
Well, it alarmed me. I didn't have a $5 bill on me. I didn't think I should stop what I was doing and go get in the car and dig up some money.
No.
And so, but I saw a man go. I saw the owner of the building pushing something. I said, you know what? I just saw this man. I don't have that on me, but there's a man that I tried to help her find what she needed.
Right.
And I
That's
saw
great.
her go.
Yeah.
And so the reason I mentioned that is made me sad in a way for
Yeah.
that girl.
Absolutely.
But just wondering
Absolutely.
in terms of caring for young people today versus what it might have been like
I'm going to start
10
crying.
years ago. It was a hard thing to see.
It
He
is.
gave her money because she came running.
And she actually used it to pump gas.
She did, but my
Good.
thought was she had a little bit of a wild looking eye, and I just thought, don't get in the car and fish for money and have her standing there.
No.
Because I don't know who else was in the car with her, and I was
Absolutely.
uncomfortable with it.
Absolutely. Oh, it's very uncomfortable.
So I finished what I was doing immediately and got out of there.
Right.
And this is right here. It's
Right.
Chevron.
But it's everywhere. It is. And I mean, they come in our office, not asking for money, but they come in our office, and that's the stress and what has happened to them. You have to know that there was probably a background story there, that, she's not a bad person, but she's an anxious and a sad and doesn't know where she's going. And so she hadn't had the guidance that she needs. And one of my goals as a pediatrician was, when those kids come in, is to try and help. Now, just like you can't change their lives. You can't change their background. You can't change their support systems. But that person in a moment in time, has a need. And if there's any way I could help with that need. And sometimes it's just listening. Sometimes it's just understanding and being there in that moment to understand that the decisions you always make can have lifetime consequences, but the decisions you make come from a background that you're weren't always the cause of or responsible for. And we're seeing that more and more. Those kids come in here at a little bit younger age, but so I've got some pretty old patients that still come because they need to feel safe, and they need to feel like this is a safe place, and that's what, as a pediatrician, you have to create. But it's so much harder than, oh, your ear hurts. Yes, you have an ear infection. Here's some antibiotics. You'll be better tomorrow, because these kids aren't better tomorrow, and so it's much, much harder for me, at least as a pediatrician, to treat kids today, and it takes longer. And with the medicine, the environment of medicine today is it's productivity. It's driven financially, because of insurance, and so it's hard to, when a patient comes in with, my throat hurts, but there's 1,000 other things going on, to sit and listen, and not just say, oh, you have strep, or you don't have strep, and go on. And that's what makes it harder, is the time that the new kids need, we don't have available.
What is your goal for every child you treat?
To empower them to know that they're good people and have potential, and to try to find that, from a tiny baby to my 25-year-old diabetics that are still here. Every single time the first time I meet a family with type 1 diabetes, the first thing I tell the parents that come is that, we talk about why you're here and what brought you to me particularly. And so I'm going to tell you right now, and this will stay true the entire time I see you, is that I'm always going to be on their side. You will never get me to fuss at your kids or yell at your kids or tell them they have to do this, but to understand what they're living with and where they're going with it is my goal, to empower them to feel good about it. And sometimes it's to be in perfect control, and sometimes it's not, because they're people and kids first. They're not type 1 diabetics first. So my goal for kids is really, and families, particularly moms, to empower them to know that they're doing the best they can, and I'm there for them if I can help in any way on that journey.
What is your advice to parents
About
taking care of their kids? What would your advice be?
To listen to them.
You kind of give me a complete sentence. My advice to parents.
My advice to parents is always to listen to their children. If they start very, very young, as infants, listening to their needs, that carries on into adolescence, and that's a difficult time to listen. But if they start young and they set up that relationship that they're always listening to their children, they'll always do what's best for their children. And I don't mean giving in to I want a cookie type of listening, but listening to what their needs really are. listening to what's making them feel the way they feel at that moment in time, and again, empowering them to teach their children, and because that's what as parents we are there for. It's to teach them to become good people and good human beings in this world.
So tell me, I'm going to back up just a little bit on I'm aware of our time. We got about 5 minutes here, but tell me, how many years have you been here, and tell me about why you're retiring and how you feel like this is the timing, what you plan to do. And
Yeah. Well, I've been in Greenville Pediatrics 39 years. We have been at Brook Highland since 1999. That's when we moved here, July 1st, 1999. I have absolutely loved being part of Greenville. The doctors that I grew up with here are pretty much retired or going to, or have finished their, except for Dr. Cortopassi and myself, we're the two older doctors left. And I decided, again, my decision to retire was a very difficult decision. Because I love what I do and I have no problems with what I do, it was hard to say, well, it's time to stop. But during COVID, I recognized that medicine per se was, just like we talked about, going in a different direction. It was about treating acute types of things, a lot of referring, and it's not the type of medicine I've been practicing for 39 years. And not that one's right and one's wrong, but for me, it was time to move over, essentially, and know that the younger generation has got another task ahead of them, and that we all have to retire at some point, and this seemed like the best time to do it. But it's been hard.
Well, can we talk just a moment about understand you're kind of passing your mantle, or a mantle, so to speak, to Dr. Butcher, and can you just give a brief mention of what that might mean to you since she was a previous patient?
Right. Dr. Butcher was a patient of mine years and years ago as a teenager, and she went on to go to medical school, become a pediatrician, and practice for a long time in South Carolina until she moved back to Birmingham, and we were lucky at that point to have an opening that she joined. Now, that's been a long time since I knew her as a teenager, but what I've gotten to know over the time here is that she is a very open. She listens to her kids. She's smart. And she's spending time with them. So when my patients ask me who they should see, she is a perfect segue for me to say, I used to be your pediatrician and now she's here. And I think that relationship will be a good one.
Can you just say her full name?
Dr. Tracy Butcher.
Dr. Tracy Butcher. So if you can just give me a sense with how will we word this, Lance, so that we can work that in her sentence at the beginning.
Oh.
Maybe just start from the top one more
As
time with her, and then we can.
Okay.
Where we
As you
can
hand
cut.
off your mantle,
Yeah.
tell me about that process with the new doctor that's coming on.
Okay. Well, I was lucky enough to have Dr. Tracy Butcher join our practice in the last winter when we had an opening. And she was a patient of mine years ago when she lived in Birmingham, and then went on to become a pediatrician. So it was very exciting to welcome her back. I had not known her over the last 25 years because she hadn't lived here, but what I recognized in her was a very caring pediatrician with some experience, not a new out of residency. And she seemed to be listening to my kids and to the patients that she saw and spending time with them. And I appreciated that very much. So I was very happy that when my patients ask me, I can say, Dr. Butcher used to be my patient, and now she's here for you as I transition that. It's a very positive feeling for me. And I think for my patients will be a very good relationship.
So, can I ask you just to give a closing, and this might be the hardest part of the whole interview, is as you're transitioning to new beginnings and a new season, and as you move forward, is there, and just looking back, is there anything you want to say, like any kind of thank you or summary, or just, I'm
Well,
grateful for this,
yes,
or whatever.
yes. I'm incredibly, incredibly grateful for the opportunity to have been a pediatrician, to be in Birmingham, Alabama, to be at Greenville Pediatrics, and to Children's Hospital for the opportunity to do what I do. As medicine's evolved, I know the hospital's evolved, obviously. When I came here, it was that small little one building. The doctors that have been there have taught me over time, but mostly I'm grateful for the opportunity to practice the way I practice, to not feel pressured to do it differently, and grateful to my patients. My patients have been the most incredible part of my life. They are like family, because we have close connections, we have close relationships. That's the hardest part, is to say goodbye to that. And so the gratitude that I feel is beyond measurement for this opportunity in my life. And I'm not sure how the next one's going to look. I may wake up July 1st in a total panic.
I doubt that. Is there any message you would say to I don't know. I know we got to go. But just have to ask you this one thing, and you may not have a message, but what would you say to children that, if you could give a message to children coming in the world today? I mean, what would you say to them?
A message to children is hard, but what you want them all to know is that they have gifts that God gave them, and to be able to understand those and use those that fits them, to feel empowered to know that they have something to add to the world and how special they are. And that specialness is something they need to always feel, to always know that whatever they're doing, wherever they are, they're here for a reason, and my hope and prayer for them would be to find that reason.
One last thing, this is our closing.
All right.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the team, the people you've worked with?
Yes. The team of people that I work with that are incredible. From the time I joined this practice 39 years ago, they have been supportive mentors and incredibly good friends and people that I will always treasure. The practice obviously has grown into a huge practice, but those that I have come in contact with and those that I know will always hold a special place in my heart. And the reason I chose to be a pediatrician turned out to be right, because the people I work with are incredible people. When you come and spend your day here, to be around people that you like and you enjoy and you can spend a day with is a gift.
Awesome. Great.
I mean,
You're off the hot seat.
I didn't ramble.
Can you stay there? I want to grab just a quick photo of her.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I'll just shoot it with my iPhone. You can